Hello and welcome to this 9th Advanced BlitzPlus tutorial by Orange Moon Network. In this tutorial I'll be showing you how to add your very own enemies, which in this case are spiders, to the game and to move them around by themselves. So first of all we'll go ahead and give them their own function and we'll call it fEnemy, and we'll put this after it's drawn the background and the characters so the enemy will be on front. Okay, so let's just try and keep it in order. So after f draw char, we'll add a new function called f, and I'll call this fEnemy, double brackets and then end function. Okay, so in this function we're going to start off by going through all the different spiders that currently exist. So for this we use a for loop, and when you have a type you again put enemy.spider, then we'll say equals each spider, and then we'll end the for loop for the next. And this is what you do for types as well. And what that basically means is it will just loop through all the different spiders that currently exist that we have created. So first of all we can just set the X and Y positions of the spiders, and this will be the same for all of them because it just depends on which tile they start off on. So we'll say enemy and then the backslash, which refers to that specific enemy's X position, and we'll make this equal the same as where the tile would be. So all it is it would be X times tile width minus offset. However, because the X value was only for this for loop and would not exist here, we use, instead of X, we use the enemy backslash tile X, the field which we created, to store that X value, and that's why we use that. So we have the X offset of the map, but we're also going to add on the enemy X offset so that the enemy can move around with its own accord as well. And then we'll just do the same for the Y position, tile Y offset and enemy Y offset. And now what we're going to do is we're going to determine which particular spider it is so we can choose which picture we're going to draw. So we use the select command as we've done many times before in the advanced tutorials. So we'll select which species it is, the field species, and select, and if it's 1 then I'm going to draw the image of the first spider, which is spider 1, and then it'll just be enemy X pos and enemy Y pos. So it's nice and simple. We're just putting the X pos and Y pos, which is being determined in this statement here. And let's do the same for the other two, and then we'll give them some physics so that they move around. I'll have the first two just sort of jittering around, but the second one will be faster than the first, and the boss will just constantly move towards the player to make it more of a tricky target. Okay, so let's run this program, save it, make sure the images are saved in the same folder, and run it. Okay, so now you can see it's so far successful. We've got all the different spiders drawn on the map, and you'll see, so I've got this type 2 one here, and up here I've got the basic type 1s, and you'll see the spiders move with the map, which is what I wanted. And now because they've got the X and Y offsets of themselves set up, it means we can move them of their own accord. I've just noticed my maps, I've got the tiles the wrong way around, but that looks kind of cool. So let's see if I've got my king. I don't seem to have the king. I'll need to add him on the map. So he should be here. So let's see what's happened. And I can see the problem. Good points for you if you notice this. In this select command I did case 1, case 2, and then case 2 again. So I changed that to 3, and now I shall find there's the boss. And now we can go ahead and give them some physics. So for the first one I just want it to jitter around, so I'll use some randomness. And the reason we're doing the physics inside the case is so that we can make each spider interact differently if you want to. So I'm going to use the rand command, which picks a number at random. But first of all, to make sure that the randomness works properly, is under the main graphics and setting the buffer up, is I'll use seed rand. So I'll do seed RND and then millisecs. This just makes sure that the program's completely random, well, not completely, but more random than it would otherwise be. And if you want to understand more about this, I created a video just for the seed rand command to explain how it works, and click on the annotation if you've got annotations enabled on the screen somewhere here. Okay, so let's go back to our enemy function, and by the way, the functions are all labelled here, and if you click on one it'll take you straight to it. So for the first one, let's say if rand, then open bracket 1, 4. So that means if the random number it picks between 1 and 4, and I'll say equals 1, then I will have the x offset. So enemy x offset equals enemy x offset plus 2, so it'll move by 2. And the reason we change the offset is because if we change the x position itself, then we'll have problems because it won't be able to follow as the map moves around. And now let's just have some more of these, and I'll just change it so if it's number 2 or if it's number 3, I don't think it really matters, but that's just the way I like to do things. So say if it's the random number it picks this time is a 2, then I'll move him to the left, and if it's 3, then I'll move him up on the Y, and if it's a 4, then I'll move it down on the Y. So now let's have a look at that. Now you see they sort of jitter around. Okay, they all seem to be going downwards, but they also follow the map. And so to stop the problem of them always seeming to be able to actually go off the screen, then what I will do is make sure that there's a limit to how far they can go. So not only does this random number have to be 1, but the offset has to be, say, smaller than 30. You can change these numbers if you want, but this means that it can't go any further than 30 out of its normal position. So you say if it's this random number and the x offset is within this certain parameters, then it will be allowed to move. And similarly, for if we want to go left, it's got to be bigger than a certain number, and along the Y as well. So we'll do minus 30, so it can go 30 either side of where it starts off at. So I'll do that for the x offset and the y offset. So now if I save that and run, they still seem to go to the bottom of the screen. So let's change that. And I've just noticed the typo here, which is this one should be a -2. So often you'll find these problems with your code and you just need to go and correct them. So if you've copied it down exactly as I was, then change that now, and let's see if it works better now. Yeah, there we go. So now they just jitter around in the spot. So they go within 30 of pixels of where they started. So let's just copy and paste this for the second enemy, because I want them to behave in the same way, apart from the fact that I will let them move, have a wider range of space in which they can move, and I think they should move faster, so I'll say they can move at a speed of 4. So that's why I've put the physics in each individual type of enemy, so you can change how they all act. So you'll see this red one is much faster, and they all can move around in a much bigger space. And finally, I'll create the code for the king boss. Instead of moving this one moving at random, I'm going to make it follow the player. So what I'll say is, if the boss is X positions is bigger than the character's X position, then the boss will move backwards. Or if the player has a bigger X position than the boss, then the boss will move to the right to catch the player. So it's that concept of, if one's bigger than the other, then it'll go in this direction. And I'll show you this now. So if the enemy X position in general is bigger than the character's X position, so this will work even if it's off screen, then the offset will decrease, so the boss will move towards the player. So you'll see we're still using just X offset enemy, because this is if the species is the boss. So using that same concept, if the boss's X position is smaller than the character, then boss's X position will increase, so it moves towards the character. And for me it works best at 0.5, so it's not too fast, not too slow, and that's why we gave them hashes, so we could store decimals, because it's a float. And now all that's left to do is do the same thing for the Y position. So if the Y position is bigger than the character's Y position, then the Y offset will decrease, and then if it's smaller, then I'll increase it. And finally, let's run this program and see if the boss moves towards the player. I'll just stay right where I am, and as you can see, the boss is coming towards me. So as I move, the boss follows me. So it'd be good in the game if it's following you. You got to shoot it 5 times. And in the next tutorial, that's what I'll be doing. You showing how we can make it so the player shoots, and so we can use this so you can attack and destroy the enemy, which will be deleted from the type. As you can see, the game's currently quite jerky because I'm running the screen capture software, but hopefully you won't have this problem. And say, because we've set up all these maps and all these different variables which I kept on going on about, if you remember, such as screen X and screen Y, it makes it very versatile. So I could say add another boss right here, and all I do is put 9 there, and there is immediately an extra boss. So thank you for watching. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you've enjoyed watching these videos. Remember to like, comment and subscribe, and soon there will be an annotation on this page, if you have annotations enabled, taking you to the next tutorial where I'll be showing you how to make your character shoot. Thanks for watching.